Hello everyone, Nukem back here once again, and as you can probably tell, I have a box of tissues, and before you ask anything, I'm not crying because I just saw Toy Story 4. I'm crying because we got another month until Dora the Explorer comes out. Oh, the humanity. Alright, enough of the shenanigans. Let's talk about Toy Story 4. Many years since I was born, when it has to do with animated movies, Toy Story was the absolute pinnacle of my childhood. Of course, as I developed into my adulthood, I learned to love more animated movies, such as one of my favorite movies of all time, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, even newer ones like Frozen. But the Toy Story movies will always be that one thing that I would never forget when I was young. I remember growing up watching it for the first time, remembering such remarkable characters such as Tom Hanks' Woody and Tim Allen's Buzz Lightyear, so much so that I even remember as a toddler having like a Woody and Buzz Lightyear action figure. Hey, I had a Woody doll when I was a kid, don't judge. I remember the animation being one of the first in the mid-1990s, officially changing the game for animated movies to come. The hilarious and remarkable banter, the quote-worthy and memorable moments, and the impact it has towards me growing up as an adult as I am today still impacts me as of right now. And I can also say the exact same thing to the second one and the third one. So, seeing how we're getting a fourth installment in the Toy Story saga for some bizarre reason, it came away to multiple people, including myself, that it's probably a possible red flag. The fact that Pixar is going for the low-hanging fruit and seeing if they can milk this franchise even longer is actually quite jarring. And as much as I wanted to rip this fourth installment a new one, I cannot do that. Guys, believe it or not, I'm not making any of this up. Toy Story 4 is amazing. I mean, I love this movie. Now let's get this one thing straight. I don't love this movie particularly because I have a huge nostalgia hard-on for the first three Toy Story films. Because not only as a standalone movie, but a continuation of the first three Toy Story films, it absolutely delivers on all proportions, full stop. So what we have in Toy Story 4 is that it plays out as a continuation from the storyline of Toy Story 3, as I already established before. Whereas Andy, the toy's previous owner that we've seen from the first three Toy Story movies, offers the toys over to a new kid to play with named Bonnie. So what basically happens in this fourth installment in this Toy Story franchise is that during her school orientation, Bonnie creates an arts and crafts project out of a spork and multiple crafting tools into her personal childhood toy that she named Forky, who's voiced in this movie by Tony Hale. Forky besides himself at the idea that he's supposed to be a toy when he's actually a recyclable arts and crafts project. During a road trip to an amusement park that the toys and even Forky are along for the ride in, Forky jumps out of the RV window attempting to dispose of himself. And so it leaves Woody up to the task to try to bring back Forky back to Bonnie, while also getting caught up in the mist with particular supposed villains at an antique store, and even lifelong companions like Bo Peep, who was voiced by Annie Potts, who gets caught up with Woody on a simple task. Now I understand that this is always the positive, but I just have to come right the heck out with it. The animation in Toy Story 4 is photorealistic and beautiful to the first degree. Even when it comes to things like models of toys, or even just simpler human attributes like hair, or even natural elements like water or grass. It is simply stunning how Pixar is enhancing their own animation to be as great as it can possibly be. And I hope it definitely gets better as time goes on, as long as it's attached to original ideas, and not movies that absolutely deliver like absolute cash grabs. But you know what, when it comes to sequels with their animation, Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4 are the exception that proves the rule. But here's what separates this movie from the other Toy Story films. The character arcs and the relationships that are handled between multiple characters are simply gratifying and emotionally grasping. While I can talk about how well developed some of the characters are in this movie, there are only three particular ones that I desperately want to talk about: Woody, Bo Peep, and the supposed villain of the film. Yes, this is a movie that's mostly about the toys, but this is more of Woody's movie than as advertised. And you can absolutely tell that just by watching it, it feels like his entire arc feels like a companion piece of the other Toy Story movies, particularly Toy Story 3. It has been established before that Woody has developed from this one attention-seeking toy who was jealous at the fact that Buzz Lightyear was stealing his thunder as he was striving to gain the attention of this one child, into a more patrolling, protective, and parenting leader for the toys, which has been one of those things that this movie has usually been about: parenting. Once the plot of this movie rolls around, the game has changed as he starts to picture and figure out what exactly his sole purpose as a toy is supposed to be. Whether it's being loyal to one kid trying to make that person happy, or making other kids happy. And it plays about as well as you might expect. Annie Potts does a credible job as Bo Peep, who was a returning character from the other Toy Story movies who wasn't featured in the third Toy Story film. But her character in this film is terrific. She is much more fleshed out in this movie, giving much more dimension and personality to her character than she was in the other two Toy Story films, as the movie and the writers offer her somewhat of a femme fatale personality, and even developing somewhat of a friendship, or even, dare I say it, relationship, that the first movies kinda touched upon at first, but are much more dimensional this time around, as much as containing an ideology that her and Woody share just about what the role of a toy should be, as I kinda established before. Not to mention that Woody and Bo Peep smolder with chemistry, with like absolutely flirtatious and acerbic dialogue that makes the relationship feel that more authentic, pretty much making the writers feel like a couple that you know they really like each other, but they are afraid to project how they feel towards one another. And I'm telling you guys, I found myself invested and engrossed in every single scene they were in. There's also a character who I can't precisely give away at the moment, but there is a character in this movie who, at first glance, you know is going to be the villain. You know that she's probably going to play somewhat of a Prospector Pete or Lotso Huggenbear, but as the film progresses, you begin to understand why this character is feeling this sort of way. What is the motivation behind this character? And how this character is waiting for this chance of a lifetime to have this particular moment that it's been waiting for all these years, to have that one moment of happiness. It is quite actually more subversive than any other property that doesn't feature Last Jedi or Game of Thrones in the title. And none of you can deny that statement. What Toy Story 3 also excelled more is its humor and how it's presented well. This is probably one of the more funnier Pixar movies that have come out this decade. Not only because of the well-timed jokes and the comedic hijinks and banter between the characters, but the comedy also gets the help of additional characters that come into the film. You have Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, who play carnival stuffed animals, and they also share additionally hilarious moments throughout the movie, precisely ones that have to do with hatching a plan with Buzz Lightyear to get a certain key from somebody. But if there is any character that has made me laugh so hard in decades, it has to be Keanu Reeves as this evil Knievel toy, Duke Boone. And he was by far and away the funniest person in this whole movie. Like even certain moments of him exchanging a backstory that has to do with a commercial, or moments where he's attempting to stunt to save his friends. Every time Duke Boone was on screen, it's hilarious. And this was the one thing that I never expected out of this movie, like at all. The movie has a sense of closure to it, and I never saw it coming for even a fraction in this film. It took me completely by surprise as we got to this point. And I just want to put this out there. I'm not joking about this. I know I joked about it in the intro, but I'm not lying to you guys when I say that I cried more in this movie than I did any of the Toy Story movies combined. Even more so than Toy Story 3. But all I can say is that how it's done, it felt like pure movie magic pulling at my heartstrings in all the right places. And no, it wasn't done to be completely manipulative, exploiting nostalgia. If there was any minor complaint I have with Toy Story 4, I wish that there were certain characters that got something to do. Of course, there are moments like where he has to tackle a certain moral lesson about his inner conscience, but they certainly could have done a lot more for Buzz Lightyear as a character and Woody's best friend in decades. Bottom line, Toy Story 4 is one of the biggest surprises all year, and it's probably the best animated movie of this year. The emotional beats hit all in the right places. The character arcs are gratifying and emotionally investing. The story, rather than being a rehash, further explores the concept of the characters and their themes. The themes and the ideas about what it means to be a toy and what it means to be alive and make people happy are executed exactly as they should be. The animation is flawless beyond repair, and the ending has a great sense of closure and finality for this entire Toy Story saga. Even though I wish that there was more for the other characters to do in the meantime, that doesn't stop Toy Story 4 from getting a 5 out of 5. Best animated movie of the year so far. Go see it as you can possibly can. But you know what? Who knows? There could be another animated movie that might take its place. What could it be? Who knows? It may have to deal with an ice queen. But you know what, guys? That is my review of Toy Story 4. Comment below. Let me know what you thought about the movie. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Let me know what your favorite Pixar movies are. And also, if you would like to see more reviews like this, be sure to subscribe for more. My name is Luke Nukem. And as a great character once said, so long, partner.